physical. Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're starting a tad late here. Sorry about that. We were immersed in vaccine discussions. So I call the meeting of March 9th, 2021 to order. A physical quorum of the members is not present. However, pursuant to Section 7E of the Open Meetings Act, members are permitted to attend remotely. Either one member of the committee, the chief administrative officer, or our chief legal counsel are physically present at the regular meeting location. In-person attendance and public comments are allowed, subject to attendance limitations required to ensure health and safety of those who attend. So I call our meeting to order with that understanding, and may I please ask Member Jim Zay, would you be kind enough to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Please remain standing as I invite Father Tom Paul, my pastor from Immaculate Conception Church in Elmhurst, to lead us in invocation via Zoom. Father Tom.
Let us pray. We come before you, Almighty God, conscious of our many needs, and yet aware that we gather in your name and presence. Again this day, we ask you to come and be with, in a special way, the members of the DuPage County Board, and we pray that you enlighten their hearts and minds. We ask that you give them light and strength to know your will and to make it their own and to live it in their lives. We pray that you guide them by your wisdom. We ask that you support them by your power, for you are God, sharing the glory of Father, Son, and Spirit. As you desire justice for all, enable the board members to uphold the rights of others. Do not allow them to be misled or corrupted by fear or favor. Unite them to yourself in the bond of peace and keep them faithful to all that is true. As the board gathers together in your name, may they temper justice with love so that all decisions may be pleasing to you and earn the reward promised to good and faithful servants. For you live and reign with the Father and the Son, one God, forever and ever. Amen. And may God's blessings, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, descend upon all who participate in this meeting, to be with them now and forever. Amen.
Thank you, Father Tom. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll? Chaplain.
Here.
Chavez. Chavez.
Here.
Covert.
Here.
Desart.
Here.
DeCiani.
Here.
Eckhoff. Here. Garcia. Here. Hart.
Here.
Krajewski.
Here.
LaPlante.
Here.
Ozog.
Here.
Pachalski. Here. Renahan.
Here.
Rutledge.
Here.
Schwarzy.
Here.
Selman.
Here.
Tornatore.
Here.
And Zay.
Here. Nine
Nine are present, 9 are remote. We do have a quorum. not physically present, but we have a quorum, so we will proceed. On the order of Chairman's report, we've got a couple of proclamations here. First and foremost, I'm going to invite Steve Fixler, but we're going to have to keep some space up here, please. Steve, Howard Goldstein, and Bruce Mayer to the podium. John Wilkerson is joining via Zoom. Thank you, gentlemen. I've asked Steve of our Veterans Assistance Commission to join me today as we welcome some distinguished guests, Howard Goldstein, Bruce Mayer, and John Wilkerson on Zoom. They represent the Jewish War Veterans. This is the oldest continuously serving veterans organization in the country. Pretty remarkable. They beat the VFW by 2 years. The Jewish War Veterans will be celebrating their 125th anniversary on March 15th, 2021. And I'm going to read this proclamation in honor of your organization. I'm going to ask you fellows if you'd be kind enough to offer a few words. So, whereas the Jewish War Veterans of the United States of America, JWV, was established on March 15, 1896 by Jewish Civil War veterans and now enjoys membership ranging from World War II through all current conflicts and active duty personnel. And whereas the Jewish War Veterans is the oldest continuously active veterans organization in the United States, and whereas the Jewish War Veterans was chartered by Congress on August 21st, 1984 under Public Law 98-391 as a patriotic wartime veterans organization. And whereas Jewish War Veterans encourages the doctrine of universal liberty, equal rights, and full justice to all genders. And whereas the Jewish War Veterans Department of Illinois headquarters is located in DuPage County. And whereas the Jewish War Veterans are celebrating their 125th anniversary on March 15, 2021, and whereas today we honor those of the Jewish faith who have served in wars of the United States of America and humbly risked their lives to protect us all, now therefore be it resolved that I, Daniel J. Cronin, Chairman of the DuPage County Board, members of the Board, do hereby proclaim Monday, March 15, 2021, Jewish War Veterans of the United States of America Day in DuPage County, to honor the Jewish War Veterans from DuPage County. I'll entertain a motion. So moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and enacted this 9th day of March 2021. We can't thank you gentlemen enough for your service, of course, and the commitment that you've made to the community of veterans of the Jewish faith. And so I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Mayor. And yeah, please come up here. Steve, you want to, however you want to proceed, please.
On behalf of the Jewish War Veterans of the United States, the Department of Illinois, and our local Post 54, which is headquartered in Lombard, thank you for this proclamation.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Steve?
Again, I do thank you. Echo the words. He's our current department commander, the state commander. And we do have our post commander right above me, John, wave, and everything like that. So I thank you guys too.
Okay, great. Anything you want to say, sir? No. All right. Well, thanks, gentlemen. This was awesome. Evan, did you get a picture? All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Actually, I should mention that Bruce is our BAC president right now, too.
Beautiful. That's nice. Do you guys have bingo or anything like that?
Not yet.
Not yet?
My
Slots?
region post is trying to start it.
Yeah, let's what's that game called? You know, video poker. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to stay right here and introduce our Chief Administrative Officer, Nick Kottmeyer, to the podium, please. Chief Administrative Officer Nick joins us now for an update on the capital projects completed with the federal CARES dollars allocated by the county board. It's really remarkable, quite frankly. I know you like to recognize things that are good around here, and somebody said to me the other day, Cronin, you like to pat yourself on the back a lot in these meetings. Well, it's a collective pat ourselves on DuPage County government. backs. And I do think we do a nice job in many areas, and I'm very proud of the work that we do. And I am extremely impressed with what Nick has been able to do. A lot of work in an extremely tight timetable. So with that, Nick, please take it away.
Good morning, everybody. So before we get going here, first of all, I love presentations like these because it's good news. You guys can sit back and enjoy what you guys have kind of brought to fruition. We're not asking for anything. We don't need anything. We just want to kind of report to the board what was accomplished and the different projects. So, today, as the chairman said, we're going to be kind of going through some of the more keystone projects we've done with the CARES Act funding here on campus infrastructure projects. But first, before we get into it, a little bit of a timeline. So if everybody remembers, and I know we have some new board members, but on March 27th last year, or beginning of March, that was when COVID turned everybody's lives upside down. All of ours, the world, everything was upside down. The federal government then on March 27th passed the CARES Act, and it to be able to allow everybody to battle COVID. And then April 27th, if you remember, was a great day. That's when we received about $161 million at DuPage County from the CARES Act. It was a great day. We all had to actually see it to believe it, but it allowed everything that you see today to happen. And then if you remember back in June, for those that were on the board at that point, we had a 6-hour meeting, I think, probably one of the best meetings I've ever been part of, that this board decided how to allocate, how to battle COVID, and it was hugely collaborative from day one, or from hour one all the way to the end. And that's where a lot of these projects, the board saw fit to trust staff with almost $22 million to do projects throughout DuPage County, and to make the improvements to protect the residents of DuPage County and protect the staff of DuPage County. And I'm hopefully today, after you see this presentation, you'll see that we accomplished that. So as soon as the board approved that in June, there was some key staff that really got involved, who lived and breathed this. I mean, I want to mention those: Tim Harbaugh, Mark Thomas, Jeff Madison, Bill Bauer, Cheryl Marquet, and Mary Catherine Wells. I mean, throughout the process, I mean, you can't do this caliber of projects without, I mean, I think Mark actually slept here a couple nights, because I know that he was starting at 3 a.m. with contractors, because a lot of it was after hours, middle of the night, to not disrupt operations. So with that, let's start. Next slide. So as I said, the projects that we're going to talk about today were strictly done to address the COVID problems, how to battle COVID, how to battle the spread of COVID here on the campus with both residents and the public, or the public and our staff. I will say that from day one, this campus never shut down. Not once did we shut down. We were open from day one. Now, albeit our delivery method with the public, was changed, but we never shut down, and we're extremely proud of that. All of these projects were put in place while we were running. The courts were running. They cut back, but they were still running. Everybody was still running. So that's something that I think this board should be very proud of, the leadership in keeping that going. So we focused on air quality improvements, obviously disinfection capabilities, and you're going to see all these in the projects. I'm giving you just a quick overview right now. We completely redid all of the virtual court proceedings with CourtSmart and to allow the virtual. We implemented across all of the courtrooms. You have additional courtrooms to support social distancing. I know a lot of this board went over to saw the final version of the large courtroom that was built over there. We did a lot of office moves, renovations to allow for the courtrooms and jury deliberation. So it was very thoughtful. And keep in mind, in a period of 4 or 5 months, we went from this board saying, here's $22 million, to design, to permit, to construction, to project closeout, to implementing and getting in place. So in my whole career, I don't ever remember doing, and it wasn't just one project. If it was a $22 million one project, that'd be easy, but it was dozens of projects throughout the campus. So, and like I said, that's because of the team here at DuPage County. They did all the work. You see, you guys approved $21.8 million. Next slide. So the one reason we were able to get this done is our delivery methodology. If we did traditional design, bid, build, we would have never hit the 5-6 month timeline for these projects. It was impossible. So what we did is we took our playbook from how we constructed DuCom, which was a guaranteed maximum price, CM at risk type of delivery method, and worked with white consultants. They are pretty much the reason why we were able to get these projects done. The teamwork between White, I think they took about half their staff, because at one point we had something like 350 different outside contractors on this campus simultaneously. And so between White and staff, we were able to manage it. They did 8 separate projects, but we also did incorporate on some of our project the traditional delivery method for about 1.1 million. And like I said, our deadline originally for the CARES Act was December 31. I know they did lengthen it, but we pretty much hit that December 31 deadline. So extremely proud of the fact all our projects on time, under budget. So with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Jason Dwyer. He's the president of design and construction at White & Company, to go through some more specifics for the projects. Jason?
Thanks, Nick, and good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I think Nick made a really great point to start off, how close a collaboration we had with county and county staff to be able to execute this amount of work. Wasn't easy, a lot of work going on, day and night, weekends to make it all happen. But I'm going to run through quickly a couple of the different projects. I don't know, does this work, or I guess, yeah. So really kind of 15 components here. A lot of them were bundled projects, but touching on really 6 major buildings across the campus here, really trying to focus on key projects that were going to have a direct impact to battle COVID and provide better protective measures. Next slide. So let me start out with kind of what's the most significant project. I think some of you may have seen some of the work that went on at the 505 Judicial Office facility. That was really the biggest project. Had to do a complete overhaul of the HVAC system there. So the existing building had 4 existing rooftop units that were getting closer to the end of their useful life, and didn't really have the ability to incorporate the air disinfection measures that we wanted to do through UV sterilization and bipolar ionization. So a plan was put in place really to take those 4 units and replace them with 2 much larger air handling units without taking down the systems in any way. So next slide. Really, the units of that size had a pretty long lead time in terms of delivery and ordering, so we quickly went about getting all the approvals done, getting those units on order, and then when that work was done, really focused our efforts on some of the pre-planning and preparatory work. So there was a lot of work to be done to incorporate new steel grillage up on the roof to place the larger rooftop units, a lot of plans in terms of hoisting and material picks for the cranes. We also used a lot of computer coordination to make sure all the piping was set up right. So we were inside the courthouse building doing work above ceilings at off hours, trying to get everything ready leading up to Thanksgiving. And then really the units came early part of December. Next slide. So this is just a couple pictures of some of the work being put up in place. There was some early crane hoists for some of the massive ductwork. Some of you may have even seen there's some nice YouTube videos out there showing some of the huge ductwork that you could almost live in. It was so big. But we had about a 550-ton crane that was placed out there to hoist those units in place. And then we kind of systematically worked over a couple weekends with a 14-day cycle to make the new units operational and decommission the old units so that we didn't have any hiccups in terms of the heating for the building at that time of year. Next slide. So this is just another couple pictures of hoisting of the units and then some completed photographs of the ductwork in the units up on the roof. There was also a lot of electrical work that had to be done, a lot of other behind the scenes work to kind of make it all come together. Next slide. So shifting gears inside the building, this is one of the new specialty courtrooms that was developed, Courtroom 3011. So this is really I call it a socially distanced trial courtroom. So The courtroom is probably about 2,600 square feet, so larger than a traditional courtroom. But that was really driven by the ability to, you see in the picture, have a capacity to have a properly distanced jury to accommodate jury trials. And I understand there's a jury trial going on in the courtroom right now. So we were able to accommodate all of the Illinois Supreme Court standards and then add ample space, handicapped accessibility. And on top of that, we added a lot of technology into the courtroom as well to handle not only in-person trials, but also kind of hybrid trials between in-person and remote virtual appearances as well. Next slide. Just a couple more pictures, a lot of protectives. You'll see this in a lot of the projects, plexiglass protectives around a lot of different areas. The picture on the left side is the spectator seating area. So right now we've got it set up to accommodate distancing for activities now, but that can easily be converted by adding more seats to accommodate, I'll say, more traditional court proceedings farther down the road and more past some of the challenges of COVID here. Next slide. So staying in the 505 building down on the first floor, kind of on the west side, just south of the main pass-through between the east and west entries. We did 2 more court projects there to focus on basically dealing with some of the backlog in the system, a traffic court similar to your other traffic courts in the building, and then a hybrid court that's set up to accommodate a number of different proceedings. So this space was office space previously, and converted into a couple court spaces, new HVAC systems, all the same protectives and socially distancing, and specialty spaces there, including technology integration. Next slide. So here you can see just a couple more pictures. We had to kind of work with some of the existing finishes on the first floor and make it look pretty seamless in the process. Some pictures of the bench arrangement and the technology in the space. This had to get all new HVAC controls because of the changes from office setup to a courtroom with a little larger capacity down the road. Next slide. So one other big project, and this one probably people didn't see a lot because it was all happening at night. We basically deployed an entire new technology system throughout the courts to really allow a lot of the virtual proceedings that needed to happen. So we actually had just finished a project similar to this down in Will County, and we engaged a couple really good contractors to come in and put together a system that had fixed cameras on each of the key spots, the judge, the witness, and the 2 attorney tables, a lot of monitors in the courtroom. We added some additional technology at the attorney tables to allow for evidence presentation and other activities. But basically what you get here is the ability to handle not only complete virtual court proceedings, but also hybrid. So if you've got some in person, some virtual, it allows a lot more flexibility. Next slide. So this is just a couple pictures of some of the technology deployment there. A lot of improved accessibility and usability for the judges. We had to tie into the existing court recordation system by CourtSmart to make sure it was all working seamlessly. And we did some other work with speakers and other enhancements just to really improve the overall processing of trials there. Next slide. So now switching over to the 503 Judicial Annex. There were a number of different functions that got displaced by some of the work in the 505 building, including Regional Office of Education, Adult Protective Services, Probation. So we were able to use some of the unfinished space up on the 3rd floor of the annex building and build out some new office space, reconfigure and consolidate some of the state's attorney storage spaces, and really accommodate the functions that were displaced from the 505 building. Next slide. On top of that, we were also able to add the same sort of air disinfection measures to the 503 building. So we went into the existing air handlers. This one did not require air handler replacement. We were able to add UV lighting and bipolar ionization into the existing systems to provide more air disinfection throughout the building. So that was another sub-project at 503. Next slide. Then switching over to the west side of campus here, we did some work also at the Care Center. This was, I'll say, more of kind of an initial starter project. We, a lot of the rooms over there, currently 2 different care rooms share a single bathroom. And so we looked at opportunities to basically separate bathrooms, add more bathrooms so that we didn't have any potential for cross-contamination. We added some HEPA filtering to the systems to provide more air filtration in the spaces. And I think this really would set the standard for future work at that building to provide continued separation and protective measures in the building. Next slide. We also touched the 421 building. These aren't super glamorous pictures, some of the work in process, but did work throughout that building. A lot of protective measures for public lobbies, separation spaces, public interaction counters, dividers, just to kind of provide more protectives to the public and staff working in the building, and touching a lot of different departments, I'll say. Next slide. So the jail was not left alone either. We did some work at the jail that really focused on isolating some of the cell areas. So we added some, again, UV light into the HVAC systems and bipolar ionization again, but also did some work with some exhaust so that we had negative pressure in isolated cell areas, so that if there were any challenges in the jail, it wasn't going to spread, wasn't going to spread throughout the jail. So we had more protectives and isolation in the space. Next slide. I think this is the last project here to touch on, the work at the coroner building. So similar kind of thing. We did some upgrades to the HVAC system there, did some work with additional filtration, and then really focused a lot on separation of the different spaces too, to avoid any kind of cross-contamination between spaces. So that involved a little bit more exhaust in some spaces and not a lot of, minimizing the recirculated air within the space, just to, again, provide more protective. So kind of a general theme on the projects, a lot of focus on HVAC and protectives, a lot of the, plexiglass like you have up here in this room, but really focused on trying to protect staff and public to maintain existing operations. Next slide. So just to wrap up, as Nick said, we had about 350 trades total that worked on the project, probably upwards of 38,000 total hours worked to make all that happen. There was a significant amount of money spent in equipment for the protective measures, but a lot of trade hours worked. And I think done pretty effectively, where we weren't disrupting any ongoing operations. All the major picks for the crane work was done over weekends and holiday times, so that we weren't disrupting any ongoing operations. These high risk or shutdown things were all done on off hours. All of the technology work was done at night, so we weren't disrupting any of the judges and the work that they were doing in the courtrooms. So overall, just I think a real success story of how everybody was working closely together to make this work happen. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the facility staff too. Everybody there did a great job working with us and our team. And I think Mark did probably sleep at the building a couple times. He was available to us very early mornings, weekends, and we couldn't have had the success we did without the support of all the staff. So I think I'll turn it over to Nick now to wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And, the one thing when we started these projects, when we came to you with projects, an important thing to realize, every single project that we showed here, as well as the other ones that we didn't show, have benefits for this county well beyond COVID. And that was one of our hallmark things. We didn't want to do a project and, it's just good for a year. Every single project there will provide benefits for many, many years to come. And that's what we're proud of. And although we talked about our team and facilities and White, which was extraordinary, it couldn't have happened without the teamwork with the elected officials. We have touched one end of this campus to the other and worked with every single elected official. And, we could not have completed these without a partnership where they were involved every step of the way, helping us. The disruption that we were doing in the courthouse, in the jail, in the coroner, everybody was working with us. And I think we might have a couple of elected officials on that might want to say a word or two. I don't know if, I know that Dr. Jorgensen and State Attorney Berlin are both on. I don't know if you wanted to say anything. Lindy, do we have anybody on? Trying.
Here we go.
Okay, this is Rich Jorgensen. I just got unmuted, I think. Can you hear me?
We hear you, Dr. Jorgensen.
Okay. I'd like to say that this was an amazing project. I know that's been said a whole bunch of times, but we were seriously compromised over here. This fantastic building that we have was designed in 1995. The HVAC system was designed at that point as well. And one of the the problems that we had was that it commingled all of the air in the entire building. And especially in the early part of COVID, we weren't sure how this was transmitted. In fact, it took a long time before there was a lot of science about its transmission. And we were very concerned about the commingling of air from the morgue to the spaces where offices are and such. I'd like to also shout out for Auditor Bob Groban, who was very, very involved in the COVID money projects in the beginning. And he recommended that I get in touch with you folks about our air conditioning system and such. And we did. And within a very short period of time, we were on the project list to get this done. It was done before the deadline. We had a complete replacement of our HVAC system, and the gentleman from White that was speaking kind of went over it a little bit, but our upper floor where we have our living human beings has a positive pressure, meaning that it pushes the air out. So we're not getting air that's contaminated pushed into our space. And the downstairs where we do autopsies and such has a negative pressure, so it's taking any potential pathogens and putting it through the filtering system. So it was a tremendous opportunity, and we benefited over here very much. So we're now in the state of the art as opposed to being in a precarious situation. I'd like to also add that we also had for a long time been wanting to have more security over here because we work 24/7. We have people sleeping here at night. I shouldn't say sleeping here at night. I should say working here at night. And so we were also able to put a gated access around the back part of the building, which tremendously increased the security of our office and safety of our personnel, as well as the first project that we did, which was to get a mobile refrigerated morgue and a lot of equipment that went into there to bring our storage capacity up to about 50 more bodies in case this crisis got worse. So those are the three things that the coroner's office benefited from, and the rapidity and the ease in which we did it. I would like to reach out to Nick Hotmeyer and just say, working with you has been fantastic. We got these things done. We improved the campus, the safety, and the protection of our employees with this money. So I'm happy to answer any questions or any other comments.
We can shift to, thank you very much, Dr. Jorgensen.
Yep.
Is State Attorney Berlin on?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, Nick, I just want to say thank you to you and your staff, and a huge thank you to Tim Harbaugh, Jeff Matson, and Mark Thomas for some really outstanding work. For the last year, unlike some other departments where more people have been able to work remotely, we have had to staff courtrooms, and we've had a large staff coming in every single day. And all the plexiglass in our office has helped make that happen and help keep people safe here. The HVAC project in the courtrooms, the communication was great so that we knew which courtrooms were going to be open. There were days where sides of that building were closed, other sides were open. So we made sure that we had the appropriate staff to handle all those courtrooms. But we are doing 2 jury trials right now. And I'm not sure of any other surrounding counties that are already up and running doing juries because of these COVID courtrooms that we have, and we're able to keep jurors safe. Also, the technology upgrades have not only helped us for the past year, but they will help us going forward as we implement a body-worn camera program with increased technology in the courtroom. So, again, a huge thank you to all. The wheels of justice continue to churn here in DuPage County.
All right, thank you. Any other electeds on the line that wish to speak? I think we're...
Sadia Covert is seeking recognition. Member Covert?
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. I wanted to let everybody know that a member LaPlante and I we had a tour at the courthouse last week, and I was very impressed with how the CARES funding was allocated. It was just amazing how, with HVAC system and how the courtrooms were set up, the plexiglass, they did an amazing job. I want to thank facilities. I want to thank everybody that was involved in making our courts safer for attorneys and parties that go there. It was absolutely amazing. And the jury rooms, they were socially distanced, very clean. So I'm very impressed. And I always say that, DuPage County Court is the Cadillac of all courthouses. And that remains true even right now. So I want to thank everybody for making the courthouse safer. And thank you for the tour. We had the tour with Judge Popejoy, who was amazing and amazing tour guide, right? And it was really nice. So thank you to everybody who made that happen.
Member Dessart seeks recognition.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I had my little hand raised over here electronically, so I don't know if you can see that electronically, but it was up. First of all, I want to thank everybody for amazing work on getting all of this done and this money spent under budget and on time. And I, too, wanted to thank Chief Justice Ken Popejoy, who just could not have been a more charming host and tour guide last week. Couple of questions. Number one, moving forward, the American Rescue Plan is set to be signed this week, where DuPage County could be receiving $166 to $180 million. Are department heads and electives already giving us ideas on how the county can spend that money internally? And then are we planning another special call meeting to address new projects, refinancing existing projects, and that sort of thing? And as a follow-up to that, Nick, with the CARES Act, the guidelines were very broad initially. I'm wondering if this new American Rescue Plan has more firm guidelines. Thank you.
So the answer, we are absolutely, all the department heads, we've been talking for months about coming up with an exhaustive list of the projects. We don't know, obviously we put that list together and we're refining that list before we knew any requirements, guidelines, anything. And we're still waiting to get some guidance on that. That'll help us guide the projects. We still have COVID improvement projects. We have air quality projects that we can propose to this board to do as part of it. I know Cheryl is tracking that exhaustively, trying to get as much information, and it's lacking information right now. At some point, once we have that information, we would likely have the same type of meeting that we had on the first one. And, we would propose the projects, and obviously we're going to be working with all the electeds to figure out what's out there. And there are different and new requirements on this money as opposed to the other money.
I see Ken Popejoy. Judge Ken Popejoy seeks recognition. Judge?
Yeah, can everybody hear me? Okay. First of all, thank you for the very fine comments about the tour. I'm glad that it went well with everybody that was over there. I also was extremely honored and pleased to not only meet all of you, but to take the time to go through things with you on everything. And all of you are equally as charming, if not far more so than I am. But for the point being, we're very honored, as I told each of you who did come for the tour, we are very honored to be a leader in this state. As Bob Berlin said, he has 2 jury trials going. Well, we have 2 other civil trials going too. We have 4 jury trials going, and we are getting them done. And we're getting it done because Nick Kopmeyer, Mark Thomas, my preceding Chief Judge Dan Guerin, and my court administrator Suzanne Armstrong worked together to put this all together. As I told each of you, I was very blessed to be able to open it up. But I wasn't the guy doing all the heavy lifting. It was all of those gentlemen that were doing it and everything else, along with Suzanne especially. But for any of you that did not come over and did not see this, I'd be more than honored to have you stop over at any time. I know Member Hart, I saw you outside after you kind of informally were through there. If you'd like to come in and talk one-on-one with me, love it. Member Chavez, I think you had doing something with one of your kids or something like that where you had to kind of cancel last minute. I'm wide open. I'm here. This door is always open for all of you. Member Selman, I didn't get to meet you, but would love to do so. And any of the others that are around who would like to come over. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting to know each of you better. I hope you enjoy getting to know a little more about the judiciary and the chief judge better, because as I've told all of you, we're here to work together and we're here to move our county forward. And with all of your help and assistance and with my help and assistance and our teamwork, we're going to keep this the jewel of the state of Illinois. Thank you all very, very much.
Thanks, Judge. I see Member Ozog seeks recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank my predecessor, Jim Healy, as the Chairman of Public Works. I also have to say, having toured the courthouse and knowing about a lot of these other projects, years ago I worked in one of the metric construction offices. I've never seen anything like this. To get this kind of work done at the level of quality it's been done at in 4 months' time is just phenomenal. So I want to thank Nick and everybody, and looking forward to hopefully doing some more improvements, which really do have long-range good effects for the county with the American Rescue Act, which hopefully we'll see the signature this week. Thank you.
Member Chaplin.
Thanks, and I'll be very brief, but thank you. Thanks for the great presentation. But something that I wanted to point out about this presentation, which I thought was really important and we don't talk about too much, is the jobs that this created. 350 trades and 38,000 work hours when people are being laid off and not having that income. So when we think about the CARES Act money and we see how we gave the small business loans and the art loans and we gave to nonprofits, but we also helped a lot of other people through our projects, and I think that's something that we don't talk about enough, but I think it's very important that people understand we provided all these jobs for people in a difficult time. So thank you. Thanks, everyone.
It's a great point, Liz, and I think that's one of the major objectives of the CARES Act dollars. So I think we used them wisely and effectively and efficiently in partnership with the private sector. I think it was marvelous. Yes. Anyone else seeking recognition? Anyone else? I don't see anyone. Nick, thank you very much, and thank you, White and Company. So we move right along to, yeah, there you go. I just have a few remarks I want to share with you, please. As we mark the 1-year anniversary this month of the first stay-at-home order imposed in Illinois due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I think it's important for us to take a moment to reflect on the many challenges we have faced during this unprecedented and difficult time. This experience has highlighted how essential it is for each one of us to remember our shared responsibility to be vocal, to be active advocates for DuPage County. It doesn't matter where you're from or what your political beliefs are. This is our primary, most essential duty, to know the needs of the community and to vigorously advocate for our residents at the local, state, and federal levels. As you know, I have been vigorously advocating along with DuPage County Health Board President Sam Tornatore, the whole health department leadership team. We're very blessed with some really talented, incredibly diligent folks. That DuPage receive our county's fair share of vaccine from the state. It has been incredibly difficult, and I've used every tool that I have that God has given me to try to influence some changes here. We are beginning to see increasing allocations. We are beginning to achieve a shared understanding with IDPH of our local vaccine supply and the impact on state allotments. So there has been some progress to report, incremental though it may be. We continue to lead the region in the percentage of residents fully vaccinated, approximately 9.2% as of Monday evening. While it will take time to vaccinate everyone, everyone will have the chance. In addition to advocating for our residents' public health needs, it's just as critical to advocate for economic recovery in our region. Member Chaplin pointed out a really good piece of information with the way the CARES money was used in these capital projects and the jobs that it provided. I recently had the opportunity to respond to the Regional Transportation Authority's Public Transit Recovery Planning document entitled Sustaining Critical Transit in 2021. It was imperative to remind the RTA leadership of the transportation needs of our 928,000 residents, supporting 650,000 jobs in our county. I believe connecting people to jobs is a critical function as we recover from the impact of COVID-19. Ensuring our residents have viable transportation alternatives to get them to work, to school, to appointments, shopping, entertainment, whatever it may be, all of their daily activities, this is imperative, right? So I will continue to ensure DuPage County resident needs are front and center as I advocate, as I join you in advocating at the state and local and federal levels. So those are my thoughts. Those are my remarks this morning. That concludes the chairman's report. We move on to the next order of business entitled Public Comment. Public Comment. So we do have, we have Irv Schramm from Willowbrook seeking to offer some public comment. Mr. Schramm, we try to maintain some sort of structure to public comment, and we would ask if you'd be kind enough to limit your remarks to no more than 3 minutes. So please, sir, we're interested in your view. Please proceed.
Yeah, I'm here because you guys are going to vote on whether or not I can keep my shed where it's at. The shed was built about 25 years ago. I'm sure the guy built it didn't realize he had to keep it a certain distance off the lot line. I would just request 1 year extension to keep the shed. That gives me time to build a new one. At the zoning meeting, they were going to recommend to approve it, but then they found out they have chickens in the shed, and the zoning for chickens is 25 feet from the lot line, so that's why they said they would request to deny it. But I would ask that you approve it for one, or let me keep it for 1 more year under stipulation that I'll get rid of the chickens in 60 days. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Mr. Clerk, on the order of public comment? We have 3 submitted electronically. Okay, so there we go.
I'm full service today.
Yeah, I can see that.
So our first comment is from, my glasses here, is from Edgar Powell. I appreciate the county board's efforts to ensure that all members of the public can continue to submit public comment during the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, public comment would not be possible without the support and dedication of the county employees who facilitate this process. This is why I'm encouraged to see that the county board, especially the members of the Ad Hoc Rules Committee, are committed to continuing the online public comment form while fine-tuning the logistics of who will actually be responsible for reading the comments aloud. Since the pandemic lockdowns began a year ago, the state's attorney has probably become the most recognizable figure in the sphere of public comment. He reads the comments diligently and as faithful as possible to the text as written, punctuation, emphasis, and all. He is also very efficient with his time, as I can't think of anyone who reads written comments faster than ASA McCarthy. I would agree with that. More recently, ASA McCarthy has not played a role in reading or facilitating the public comments. The board has mentioned concerns that the ASA's involvement might be inappropriate, but it's unclear to the public what those concerns were. Having said that, I do appreciate seeing newer and additional faces appear on the board's video recordings. For example, Clerk Johnson has read the public comments in recent meetings, an excellent choice given that his voice carries well into the microphone and on the video recordings. His speaking style is very clear, and he dictates the public comments as precisely and dispassionately as when he conducts roll calls. At the last meeting, there was also another person reading the comments, a woman named Dana. What an interesting addition to the county board meetings. We've never seen her on camera before, but she reads the comments so eloquently, as if public speaking comes naturally to her. She pauses in the right places and emphasizes the points that are most important. It's almost as if she is faithfully conveying the feelings and emotions of the person submitting public comment. One of the members commented at the last meeting that he would be willing to read the comments himself instead of a county employee. However, since public comment is meant to be directed to, not by elected officials, I think it is more appropriate for a county employee to fill this role. I cannot think of a county board member who could read comments as efficiently as ASA McCarthy, as boldly as Clerk Johnson, or as skillfully as Ms. Dana. I hope that the Rules Committee will keep the current process.
Like writes a column for, Variety magazine or something.
Next comment from William Woodford of Naperville. Subject, you, the leaders of DuPage County Administration and the DuPage County Board of Health are, in my opinion, doing a very poor job. March 2nd, 2021, I qualify for COVID vaccination based on 1B criteria. I have registered at pharmacies, DuPage Med Group, and the Board of Health. I have yet to hear of my candidacy. I have secondary residences in Chicago and Northern Michigan, all of these places that have offered me a vaccination. My wife and I had ours at the Tinley Park Convention Center, which was truly an impressive operation, run by the National Guard. No lines in or out in less than 30 minutes. While the board meetings have reports of vaccine progress, the information is lacking, especially from Dawn Eillo, E-I-L-L-O, not sure of spelling. Her PowerPoint presentation I thought was a waste of time. DuPage County Resilience on Pharmacies and at least the DuPage Medical Group has performed poorly with little or no information up to beginning of February 21, and now a bunch of emails apparently designed to placate the citizenry. You folks are doing poorly. You don't have my support. You need to demand data about where DuPage County stands in comparison to other surrounding counties as it relates to the group that is approved to receive the vaccine, 1E, the most at risk. Words mean nothing here. You need to get to work getting shots into people's arms and not sitting on the shelves. You need to be proactive to the state. Look into what Kendall County is doing. The governor recently visited there. The voters of DuPage County should not support Mr. Cronin at his next election unless he rolls up his sleeves and gets working and advocating for DuPage County. Why is that information of the leadership of DuPage County Public Health is not readily accessible at their website? Just who is Dawn Aiello? Not sure of spelling because she was only introduced by verbal name at the February meeting. I'm writing to you because I feel you are doing a disservice to residents of DuPage County, especially those at increased risk. My wife and I have received ours, but not through any effort of our primary residency in DuPage County. Into that public comment. Next, the third and final public comment is from Robert Bowers of Naperville. Subject, COVID-19, not enough vaccines. Explain why at 64 years of age and 2 months before reaching 65 with a heart condition and being an essential worker, I am told that it will be most likely the middle of April before I might receive a shot. I know folks in Will, DeKalb, and other counties that have gotten their shots, and they are in some cases 20 to 30 years younger than I with no medical preconditions. Is there any in the county fighting for us to get more vaccine to us? In this crisis, you have my life and every other person that live in DuPage County in your hands, and right now you are doing a poor job. A question to all county board members for the record, either a yes or a no. Have you been vaccinated? Into public comment.
Okay, that concludes our public comment. We move on to the next order of business entitled consent. Is there a motion?
So moved, Chaplain.
Member Chaplain moves, seconded by Member Rutledge. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chaplain.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachalski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore.
Aye.
And Zay.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. On to the order of County Board, Member Ashley Selman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item, I move CBR 179-21, a resolution appointment of Susan Benjamin to the Board of Directors of the DuPage County Historical Museum Foundation.
Second, Schwarzy.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplain.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
And Schwarzy.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The resolution is adopted. Member Selman.
Mr. Chairman, I move on CBR 180-21, a resolution, the appointment of Paula Deacon Garcia, County Board Member to the Board of Health.
Second, Covert.
And a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Selman. Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
And Schwarzy.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. The resolution is adopted. We move on to the Order of Finance. Member Liz Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman Cronin. I move approval of FIR 017421, Resolution, Acceptance and Appropriation of the National Forensic Science Improvement Program Grant Year 2020 Intergovernmental Agreement for $153,780. Sheriff's Office.
Rutledge.
And a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
And Zay.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. We're going to be pulling item B today, and we'll be bringing that back on March 23rd.
With leave of the body, this item will be removed from our agenda. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move approval of FIR 017521, Resolution, Acceptance of the DuPage County Community Development Commission's Agreement in the amount of $400,000 for the steam generator replacement project for the DuPage Care Center.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan.
Aye.
Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
And Zay.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move approval of FIR 018221, Resolution, Intergovernmental Agreement with Illinois Housing Development Authority to implement the Energy Rental Assistance Program, $27,357,319.80.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan.
Aye.
Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
And Zay.
Aye.
Thanks, Mr. Clerk. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move approval of FIR 018121, Resolution, Placing Names on Payroll.
And a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski.
Yes.
Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
And Zay.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. Finally, I move on FIR 018321, Resolution, Budget Transfers 39-2021, various companies and accounting units.
Second, Rutledge. Motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
And Zay.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Member Chaplin. A fine report. On to the order of development. Member Sam Tornatori.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Move approval of DCO 17-21, Ordinance C 2058 Schramm, to approve a conditional use to allow an existing shed to remain less than 10 feet from the interior side property line where the shed has existed for at least 5 years. Zoning hearing officer recommended a denial of this, as did the Development Committee by a 4-2 vote. And I vote is overturning the Development Committee and the zoning hearing officer, and nay vote would be to sustain that.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please.
Questions?
I'm sorry.
Comments?
Excuse me. Sorry. Member Desart. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Chairman Tornatori, could you explain this a little bit? Because it seems as though Mr. Schramm is really willing to work with the county. He wants to get rid of the chickens, it sounds like, within 30 days, I think he said, and have a year to make this happen. Again, he seems to be working with the county. Is there any way that we can help this guy out? Thank you.
If Paul Haas is on, I would defer to him before I go ahead and give my 2 cents on it. Paul, are you on? Apparently not. Okay, my recollection of what Paul said at the meeting, and any members of the committee who have a different version, please let me know, is that Mr. Schramm has indicated some willingness. I guess there was some discussion of that with the zoning hearing officer, but there were certain conditions that Mr. Schramm required that the zoning hearing officer did not recommend. This shed is not in compliance. It was not ever permitted. And then when there was an attempt to get a permit for it, it was ultimately found out that there were chickens on in the shed, which also has certain conditions passed by our development committee and this county board with the recent ordinance allowing chickens. So there's 2 reasons why this shed is not in compliance. And if Mr. Schramm would like to amend or come back and work with the county, he is free to do so through the zoning hearing officer's process.
Further discussion, Member Krajewski, followed by Member Covert.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Schramm, for speaking today. I did vote in favor of this. My understanding when Paul Haas came to us at Development Committee, the shed was going to be approved at the zoning board. As Mr. Schramm had said, the variance was going to be given to him, except for the fact that he had, I guess, offered his own testimony that he had 2 chickens in the shed. And as a result of having chickens in there, it didn't comply with the 25-foot setback, although we've recently put in rules regarding chickens, and he could come back and ask for a zoning relief for the 2 chickens that were in the shed. And I know he stated that he wanted a year to come into compliance. I voted in favor of the variance and overturning the ZBA. I'm going to vote again in favor of it today. I think just the fact that he had the 2 chickens in there and he could come back and get what he wants, I didn't see why we have to put him back through that again. So I'm going to be supporting this ordinance today. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, it's not a variance, it's a conditional use, and also I understand that Paul Haas is on the line. Paul, if you...
Okay, so Member Covert, if you don't mind waiting one moment. Mr. Haas, please proceed.
I heard what Member Tornatore mentioned about the issues. He was correct. I don't need anything. I don't need to add anything, but Mr. Tornatore correctly summed up the zoning hearing officer's denial.
Okay, there you have it. Member Covert.
I think Paul Haas and Member Tornatore summed it up. You know, the petitioner is just not in compliance at this point, but does have an opportunity to come back and to correct this and to ask to petition the ZBA again. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Further discussion, Member Pachalski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When we get something brought through the zoning board and it comes to us in a set fashion, I mean, are we doing the right thing by now try to allow amendment? And I think we have to vote on what was adjudicated, tried, and brought forth. And the proper procedure might be a different application because the zoning board as well as development took action on a certain request on a certain application. And my question is, do we have the authority now to amend this after it was filed in a certain way? I'm not sure.
Before I answer that, Mr. Chairman, I'll once again defer to Paul Haas to make sure that what I say would be accurate. Paul?
The zoning hearing officer's petition before him was a conditional use to allow an existing shed to remain. At no point was the public notice dealing with a chicken coop. So in order for a chicken coop to be considered and a variation from what is a required setback for a chicken coop, which is 25 feet, the petitioner would have to amend the zoning petition and we'd have to have a hearing on that. So the petitioner's request for a chicken coop is not before the board today. So it would have to be sent back to the zoning hearing officer to consider that particular case.
Okay, I see Member Desart seeking recognition and Member Krajewski. Please
Thank
proceed,
you.
Member Desart.
Quick question. Is there a fee of any kind for a petitioner to bring something before the Zoning Board of Appeals? So would it cost Mr. Schramm, if he came back before the board, would it cost him some sort of fee?
The fee would be $150. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Member Krajewski.
Yeah, picking up on what Member Pachalski said, I asked if I could offer an amendment at the committee meeting for the variance with regards to the chicken coop. We didn't have to go back through there. I was told that we couldn't do that. I'm not sure if that's correct from the state's attorney legal opinion, or if that was, but I was told we can't do that and you'd have to go back through it again.
And the reason, Member Krajewski, you were told we couldn't do that is, again, because the chicken issue was never part of the public hearing. And the public has a right to know what's before it, whether it's a zoning hearing officer's case or a ZBA matter.
Chicken didn't come first.
But, no, I understand that, but if I did the amendment at committee, it would be available for public comment at this board meeting today.
I see Member Chavez followed by Member Renahan. Please proceed, Member Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure that I understand what I'm voting on today. I'm not a part of this committee. So are we just voting that if we vote aye today, the structure stays and is approved for the future, regardless of whether there's chickens in it or not? And if we vote nay, then the structure has to be removed. And so the chickens, I'm not quite sure what I'm voting on.
The chickens are an added bonus to this zoning hearing, okay, that was brought before the zoning hearing officer. A nay vote denies the right of the shed to exist with or without chickens, and an aye vote allows the shed to exist. However, it's my understanding that if the chickens are to remain, that would not be in compliance with the recently enacted ordinance regarding chickens. I hope that clears that up.
Very clear.
Thank you.
Further discussion, Member Renahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Schramm, for being here today. I think I'm also trying to ferret out here. Were they dinged because of the chickens? Because it looks like the shed had been there for 5 years. Mr. Haas?
The shed's been there for about 30 years, and so we have the conditional use allowance to allow an existing shed that never was permitted to remain where it has been for at least 30 years in this case. One of the issues, once again, that came up at the public hearing was that the shed was being used for chickens, so it's essentially a chicken coop. The county recently adopted regulations relative to chickens, and one of those regulations was that the chicken coop housing chickens has to be at least 25 feet from the side property line. So once again, one of the reasons the zoning hearing officer denied this recommendation was that if it was going to be used as a chicken coop, which the petitioner said it would be, he had not asked for the appropriate zoning relief to be able to keep the chicken coop 5 or closer than 25 feet from the side property line. So that's the reason for the denial. Now the petitioner can come back and ask for a variation from the 25-foot setback for a chicken coop, but he has not asked for that variation yet.
Thank you.
Further discussion? I think we've had a pretty good examination of the issue. So, Mr. Tornatore, you made a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Member Chaplin. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Tornatore.
No.
Zay. No. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
No.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
No.
Eckhoff. Garcia. No. Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog. Ozog.
I think it's no. I'm reading the lips. Okay, no.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Pachalski. No. Renahan. No. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
No.
8 aye, 10 no.
8 voting aye, 10 voting nay. The resolution fails.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move approval of DCO 18-21 ordinance C 2082 to approve a variation to allow a commercial trailer on a residential property, a variation to allow a trailer in front of the front wall of the house. Zoning hearing officer rather denied this. This would require a 3/4 majority vote if the board wanted to uphold the petitioner.
Okay, there's a motion. Second.
It was also denied by the Development Committee
Chaplin,
as well.
second.
Seconded by Member Chaplin. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. Yes, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say that I voted in favor of this ordinance only because if that trailer had one more axle, it would totally be okay. I think that it comes and goes just like a work vehicle would, and that is my reason for voting yes on this ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Before we take the roll call, is there anyone else seeking recognition for purposes of discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Tornatore.
No.
Zay. No. Chaplin.
No.
Chavez.
No.
Covert.
No.
Desart.
Nay.
DeCiani.
Nope.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
No.
Hart.
No.
Krajewski. Krajewski. LaPlante.
No.
Ozog.
No.
Pachalski.
No.
Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
No.
And Selman.
No.
Okay.
Joe Krajewski, no.
Okay, the resolution fails. Mr. Tornatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move approval of DC 019-21, ordinance C2094 Empire Properties, to approve a variation to allow parking of vehicles within the 40 feet and 35-foot setback from Lake Street and Garden Avenue, respectively. This was also denied by the zoning hearing officer as well as unanimously by the County Development Committee. If this were to pass, it would require a 3/4 majority of the county board.
Is there a second? Seconded by Member Chaplin. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Tornatore.
No.
Zay. No. Chaplin.
No.
Chavez.
No.
Covert.
No.
Desart.
Nay.
DeCiani.
No.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
No.
Hart.
No.
Krajewski.
No.
LaPlante.
No.
Ozog.
No.
Pachowski. No. Renahan. Rutledge.
No.
Schwarzy.
No.
And Selman.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Tornatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move approval of DC 020-20, ordinance C2096, Baumgartner Land Venture, to approve a variation to reduce the side yard setback from 20 feet to 10 feet for a new sign, and a variation to reduce the front yard setback from 15 feet to approximately 1 foot for a new sign. The zoning hearing officer did approve this, as did the Development Committee unanimously.
There's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Tornatore.
Aye.
Zay. Aye. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
And Selman.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Tornatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And finally, I move approval of DC 021-21, ordinance C21002, Swakowski, to approve a conditional use to increase the total square footage of the detached accessory building from 650 square feet to approximately 992 square feet for a new 800 square foot detached garage and an existing 192 square foot shed. Zoning hearing officer did recommend to approve this, as did the Development Committee unanimously.
Motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Tornatore.
Aye.
Zay. Aye. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski.
Yes. I
Renahan.
know what's wrong with my microphone. I'm sorry.
Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
And Selman.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my report.
A fine report, Member Tornatore. On to the Order of Health and Human Services, Member Julie Renahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. By way of committee update, I'd like to provide a little bit of information on the rental, emergency rental program. Thank you, Mary Keating, for your hard work on this. Basically, DuPage is partnering with IDA, otherwise known as Illinois Housing Development Authority, on implementation of a new rental assistance program. The federally funded program will provide up to 12 months of rent arrearage and 3 months of prospective rent for renter households that have been negatively impacted by COVID. Eligible households have to have at or below 80% of the area media income, and priority is going to be given to households 50% below the median income or have been unemployed for more than 3 months. So just so our members know a little bit about what's going on there. And with that, I'll move approval of 20-21-211, approval for training for Weatherization Department Community Services, March 7th, 2021 to March 12th, 2021 in Champaign, $1,017.36.
Second.
If I may take the liberty, I'm sorry. So I'm so glad that you're on top of this thing, the rental assistance, and working with Mary Keating. Mary's awesome. So we are working in collaboration with IDA handing the keys over to Ida. We're going to work in collaboration with them. We're going to make sure that DuPage County residents get served properly, appropriately, primarily, right? So, I mean, I know there's that understanding, but I wanted to make the record clear. So thank you very much for your leadership on that, Julie. There's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
And Pachowski.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Renahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move approval of 20-21-217. Also approval for weather assessor home evaluator trading course in Champaign, March 22nd, 2021 to March 26th for a total of $760.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan.
Aye.
Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
And Pachowski.
Great, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Member Renahan. A fine report. On to the order of Judicial Public Safety. Member Renahan, was he asking for us to make a record that he's leaving the room, or no? I didn't hear him. Okay, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Please, Member Renahan.
All right. Thank you again, Chairman Croman. I'd just like to thank everyone who attended our special call meeting last week. It was an introduction on the first blush, kind of the cost of implementing the safety legislation. We had a lot to listen to that day, and I just thank everyone who could be there. And I'd like to give a special shout out to our policy and program director, Jason Blumenthal, for his hard work in compiling all that information.
He's good, isn't he? I like him a lot.
And
He's a fine professional. Please, I'm sorry.
okay. With that, I'll ask for a motion to combine JPS items 12A, B, C, and D, JPSR 172-21, 173-21, 176-21, 177-21. These are all intergovernmental agreements with York, Wayne, Bloomingdale, and Milton townships for police services.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to combine these items. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan.
Aye.
Rutledge. Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
And Pachowski.
Okay, the items are combined. Member Renahan.
Thank you. I move to approve said items 12A, B, C, and D.
Dick Chaplin.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second on the substance of the resolutions. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan. Rutledge.
Oh, thank you.
Rutledge. Aye. Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
And Pachowski.
Okay, the resolutions are adopted. Thank you, Member Renahan. A fine report. On to the order of Public Works, Member Mary Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I want to thank all the members of the Public Works and Facilities Management team who have done such a marvelous job over these past few months. The presentation today showed all of us what they've been up to and accomplished, and I hope everyone can get over to the courthouse. And if you haven't, it's pretty amazing. And the 4-month time frame is particularly amazing. So thank you again. I'd like to move approval of FMCO 00221, amendment to resolution FMP 007118, issued to the Village of Addison on behalf of the 18th Judicial Court Circuit for the lease of property for use as courtroom facilities for facilities management for a change order to terminate county contract 3102-001, change the contract expiration date of February 28th, 2022 to November 2nd, 2020, and decrease the contract amount by $134,486.90, taking the original contract amount of $261,595 and resulting in an amended contract amount not to exceed $127,108.10, a decrease of 51.41%.
Second to Sart.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ozog.
Yes.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
And LaPlante.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you.
Member Ozog.
I'd now like to move to combine items B, D, E, and F, which are all materials needed for facilities maintenance and also public works.
Second,
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to combine items B, D, E, and F. And there's a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ozog.
Yes.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
And LaPlante.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Items B, D, E, and F are combined. Please proceed, Member Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move to approve item B, FMP 004421, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Tri-Dim Filter for filters for county facilities, for facilities management, for a contract amount not to exceed $190,000. I'd like to move for the approval of FMP 004821, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Gas Depot to furnish and deliver low sulfur diesel fuel, contract total not to exceed $72,200 per renewal option under bid award. I'd also like to move for the approval of PWP 004621, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Univar USA to provide sodium bisulfate at the Woodridge and Knollwood facilities for public works. Contract total amount not to exceed $40,000 per renewal option. And finally, I'd like to move for the approval of PWP 004721, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Olin Chlor-Alkali Products and Vinyls to furnish and deliver sodium hypochlorite for the Woodridge, Green Valley, and Knollwood wastewater facilities for public works for a contract total amount not to exceed $60,000 per renewal option under bid award 1828 JM, third and final renewal.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second by Member Chaplin on the substance of these items B, D, E, and F. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ozog.
Yes.
Pachowski.
Aye.
Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski. Is that an aye?
Aye, yes, aye.
And LaPlante.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Ozog?
That concludes my report. Thank you.
So what happened to item C? I made a point to say we're combining B, D, E, and F a number of times, so we did not address item C.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I am sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No worries, no worries, no worries.
I move for approval of FMP 004. Hello, I'm sorry. FMP 004521, recommendation for the approval of contract to EOLA Power LLC to provide uninterrupted power supply, preventative maintenance, and on-call emergency repair services needed for facilities management and the ETSB for a contract amount not to exceed $35,655 per renewal option under bid award 19002 FM, second option to renew.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ozog. Ozog.
Yes, I have microphone problems. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Wachowski. Renahan. Rutledge. Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori. Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
And LaPlante.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Member Ozog. On to the order of stormwater, Member Jim Zay.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I move on SMR 17021, recommendation for acceptance of a temporary easement, Ranella, $1. This is for a small-scale drainage project in unincorporated Lombard.
Second Garcia.
Motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
And Tornatori.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Zay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to combine items B, C, D, and E. There are 3 renewals and 1 contract to ComEd.
Second Chaplin.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Chowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
And Tornatori.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. The items are combined. Please proceed. Mr. Zay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve SMP 4021, a contract issued to V3 Companies for professional native vegetation for $65,000. SMP 4121, contract issued to Hampton, Lanese, and Renwick for professional native vegetation management for $65,000. SMP 4221, contract issued to Cardno Inc. for professional native vegetation management for $65,000. And SMP 4321, contract issued to ComEd for electrical services for various stormwater facilities, amount of $433,662.
Second
Second
Garcia.
Hart.
It's been a motion and a second. The clerk will decide who was that second.
Desart.
Please call the roll.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan.
Aye.
Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
And Tornatori.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Zay. A fine report. On to the Order of Transportation, Member Don Pachowski.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'd move to approve DTR 17121 in awarding resolution to Precision Pavement Marketing, Inc. for the 2021 Pavement Marketing Maintenance Program for an estimated cost of $421,891, which is per low bid.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Pachowski.
Aye.
Renahan. Rutledge. Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
And Ozog.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Pachowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve DTR 17821, an intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and the Village of Lisle for improvements along Warrenville Road over to the east branch of the DuPage River. County to reimburse $220,873.
Second.
A motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Pachowski.
Aye.
Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
And Ozog.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That was a fine report from our transportation chair. That concludes our committee reports. Now we move on to the order of business entitled Old Business. Old Business. Anyone seeking recognition on the order of Old Business? Mr. Eckhoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the comments that you made at the beginning of the meeting that, and I believe you've been a very strong advocate for DuPage County and trying to get its vaccines. I just had a question. I think Karen Ayala is on the line. It's my understanding when this whole process started that the state committed to vaccinating people in the 1B category. It seemed like after that occurred, the governor unilaterally decided to start letting everybody in certain areas. And that was a policy that DuPage County and other counties decided not to participate in because they wanted to get the 1B people vaccinated. Then the United Center started to get a special allotment from the federal government, and everyone was allowed to participate in that, and I know people from DuPage County who signed up for that.
McCormick Place, you mean?
No, United Center.
Okay, that's the next chapter, okay.
And then it came out yesterday that people from outside Chicago are not going to be allowed to participate in getting a shot at the United Center. And we've questioned all along whether or not DuPage County is getting its proper allotment, at least to serve our residents. And it just seems to me there's a concerted effort, I don't know if it's through the governor's office or through the Illinois Department of Public Health, to deprive DuPage County residents of the proper share of vaccines that they're entitled to get our residents, our seniors, vaccinated, who are just as important as 1B people in Cook County or in Chicago. And since they don't seem to be able to get their number of people down to meet the number of shots that they have to open it up for everybody else, which further puts pressure, puts an impediment in front of our seniors from getting their shots. And I just don't know if I'm seeing things wrong or if you're seeing things that way. I'm sure, like our chairman, you've been a great advocate for DuPage County, but it just seems to me that the light needs to be shined on what these people are doing to DuPage County residents.
I think that was a question or a call on Karen Ayala. If you're available, Karen, to offer some thoughts in response to Member Eckhoff's concerns. Are you there?
Sure. I share many of your concerns, Member Eckhoff, and again, we continue to, as the chairman mentioned in his opening remarks, we continue to advocate and work to understand the methodology that the Department of Public Health is using to allocate vaccine. Again, our progress is very, very slow in that manner. The other issue that you raise is the concerns that we have around the impact of these mass vaccination sites in other parts of the state. Because our understanding is that not only are they not open to our residents, but then they come off the top of the vaccines available to local health departments, further minimizing the doses that we have. So we absolutely continue to advocate on behalf of our residents, and really until every resident has a vaccine who wants a vaccine, we won't abandon those efforts. It's just simply too critical.
Member Zay is seeking recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just first want to thank Karen and the chairman and Sam. I know I texted Karen last week. She did a nice interview on ABC 7, where she really advocated for DuPage County and exactly what we're talking about today. And I think that's why we're a little late to the meeting today. The chairman and I were having a discussion here on vaccines, and shows his passion, his dedication. I mean, the numbers we're getting that they're giving to the media, where there are over 4.2 million vaccines given in Illinois. We're 8% of the population and we talk about. That'd be around 340,000 vaccines we should be getting. That should be our allotment. We're about 100,000 short. I mean, and then we're talking about a daily average that they're vaccinating is 90,000 people a day. Well, if that was 5 days a week, we should be vaccinating 36,000 people in DuPage County. That would be our percentage if it was at 8%. My concern is that the rules continue to change. And something that maybe this county, and I know we're leaders and we don't want to do this, but as we saw with the United Center, this was open to all residents. And I mean, I got it in the Carroll Stream newsletter. Other municipalities, I think IDPH pushed it out there and said, hey, we have this mass clinic that's going on, have your people go there. Well, 4:30 on Sunday, they closed it off only to Chicago residents and possibly opening it up for Cook County. Cook County has 4 mass vaccination sites. We have 1, and we still can't get that. Today it said Grundy County is getting a max vaccination site that's going to be manned by the National Guard, but it's only open to Grundy County people themselves, nobody else. We saw in Karen's presentation 2 weeks ago that 50% of the people getting vaccinated in DuPage County are from outside of the county. So if we're not getting the vaccines, we're doing our part in vaccinating people who work in DuPage. At what point do we make a determination, how do we take care of our residents, and do we stop giving vaccines outside of DuPage County? I know we don't want to do that, but the reality is other counties are doing it. The city of Chicago is doing it. Cook County is doing it. I mean, they opened displays last week with the new Johnson & Johnson thing. I mean, again, we're advocating for our people. And you know how hard it is. We saw a couple people in public comment today. We all know the frustration that is out there. And it's hard when you have people sending you emails and texts and friends saying, you know, my wife had cancer, I can't get her in. It's crazy. The health department has worked on a great network. We can do 58,000 a week through our network, but we continually get looped around. I mean, how does Itasca get, vaccines yesterday and have to set up their own system when we already have over 100 vendors that will do it for them? I just don't understand it. I wish we would just see more advocacy from other board members because, again, this isn't politics. This is about the safety of our residents. We saw that over 80% of our deaths are people 65 and older. We should be making sure those people are getting their vaccines. And it doesn't seem to be happening that way. And again, it seems like the state is, I don't know. I think all people should be vaccinated. Doesn't matter race, sex, creed, whatever. Let's get those at-risk people first. Let's go with those standards you set up, 1A, 1B, and let's do those. Don't continue to change the game and move the yardage back and say, hey, no, now we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to keep it open for everybody. No, sorry, we can't. I mean, is it a wonder why the United Center, they had to close that down? Because we're not getting vaccines in DuPage County and people will drive to the United Center to get the vaccine? I mean, that's part of it. So again, thank you to the chairman, Karen and Sam. I know how much they're working, how much they're advocating for us, but they need help, and I think this board should be advocating also with them and talking to our elected officials and trying to get just what we're asking for is not more. We're just asking for our fair share here in DuPage.
Thank you, Member Zay. Member Ozog seeking recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to share a couple of anecdotal issues that I've experienced in my family. Walgreens does have availability. It's extremely random, but my understanding is Walgreens is getting their supply from the federal government. So that then becomes something outside of the state issue. The other problem is with Mr. Zay's solution about not having outside residents to be vaccinated. My husband received a call and an appointment through Northwestern Medicine, and he is a patient in DuPage County, but the only appointment available to him was up in Woodstock. So that hospital system, which I believe is getting their dosages outside of any kind of state allocation, again, we can't stop that hospital system, which has hospitals in probably 4 of the 5 collar counties, from sending people to various locations if they have the availability. So that's another problem. And I think the biggest problem we have here is a lack of coordination at the federal level. You have drugstores getting vaccines, you have state health departments getting vaccines, that distribution seems uneven. So there's a lot of issues here in distribution. But at this point, I think that our biggest we can still hope for increased vaccine in the next couple of weeks. That's what the numbers are telling us. And at least from the 2 distribution centers that we've dealt with as a family, Walgreens is trying to get appointments out, and as is Northwestern Medicine. And I know the DuPage Medical Center is as well. So there's a lot of moving parts in this, and I think our health department is doing the best that they can, but I don't believe that that vaccine is being withheld from us as much as it is a supply and demand situation, as I said 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else seeking recognition on the order of old business? Old business. Anyone? I see Mr. Krajewski there.
Real quick, so the one resident asked yes or no. No, I have not got the vaccine yet. He just asked that. So.
Oh, neither have I. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone? On to the order of new business. New business. Looking forward, looking optimistically. The future. Vaccines coming. The sun will shine. Yeah, it's going to be great. New business. Anyone else seeking recognition on the order of new business? Don't see anyone, seeing none, hearing none. I know that we do not have any item to come before us on the order of executive session. So I will entertain a motion and a second to adjourn. There's a motion by Member Chaplin, seconded by Member Zay, to adjourn this meeting to Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021 at 10 a.m. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani.
Aye.
Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge. Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori. And Zay.